Scott, appreciate you making some time for us this morning. I mean, you look last year against Mississippi State. They sweep them in Starkville. I think Arkansas's won 6 straight in this series. Is there anything last year that you look at that series that stood out to you and what Arkansas can maybe replicate in Baum Walker this year?
Well, the similarities I see from this year's team to last year's team, I didn't think our team looked like a number one team in the nation early. They just really didn't. They're kind of like this year. They're struggling to start games. They're struggling to put games away. They're finding ways to win. That doesn't look like a national championship dominant team. But what they do is exactly that. They find ways to win. And so it was a similar team last year, and I think everybody was surprised that we went over there and swept them because Mississippi State's got a great program. And I think they've lost one of their key pitchers this year. I can't recall his name.
Landon Sims.
One of their key pitchers. Landon Sims, yeah, a great pitcher. And so they're dealing with that, just like we've had to deal with I think Paulette early. He went out, and we're still trying to figure it out and just kind of trudge through the schedule and see if we can win the West first of all. So this is a big step towards that.
When you look at this pitching as a former pitcher, I think people are starting to get more confident in the 3 main starters, Nolan, Smith, and Wiggins. But is the bullpen, is that still, when you look at just the pitching staff as a whole, is that where you're just kind of still a little iffy on?
Well, one of the things that everybody's glad to see, and I personally am just thrilled to death to watch to see Brady Tigert just jump out and become the man. I mean, when it gets down near the end of the game, he's the guy that's going to come in. He's got he's not an emotional guy. He doesn't get out there and jump up and down and run around the field. He just gets up and does his business, and he's got great stuff. But there's a lot of great arms in the bullpen that just haven't quite put it together. When I say put it together, it's not like they have to learn how to pitch when they get here. They've all got great stuff, and they've been great pitchers, or they wouldn't be here, wouldn't have gotten recruited to be a Razorback. They just have to learn to come in and throw strikes. And you say that's simple, just throw strikes. Well, it's not that simple. Especially when you have a guy with a bat in his hand. It just changes things up a little bit. So I the bullpen's coming around. I think Starks and some of those kids, Zach Morris is throwing really well. When he gets a chance to get in, he hasn't had many chances. Vermilion's doing a good job. And once in a while I watch his delivery and his ball is really straight. And sometimes he'll get tattooed, but he works his way out of it because he got a great breaking pitch. So I think things are coming around, and as they usually do, because it just takes a while. And having some midweek games this year has really helped because you can throw all the bullpens you want. And there's a lot of bullpen All-Americans that can't take it between the lines. And you have to get out between the lines and throw to some live hitters to find out what you really got, earn the trust of the coaches. So it's coming around.
Scott, when we look at these two teams, they're similar in that they both play great defense. I think they both field at 986, which leads the league. And really, 975, if you're at 975, you're probably at championship level. But 986 early in the season in cold weather where you can't hardly grip the ball and fielders are cold and is pretty unusual. Can you remember a double play combination at Arkansas like Jalen Battles and Robert Moore?
Johnny Ray, Larry Wallace.
That goes back. That's why that team was great.
Chris Shaddy, Dave Van Horn.
Shaddy made a bunch of errors.
Yeah, well, no. Now, in his defense, his first year he did. His second year, he was solid. I mean, he was absolutely solid. But coming back to these guys, they're automatic, and there's no hesitation whatsoever of where to go to the ball and where to throw it. They turn, they're already throwing it before they're looking, which that just comes from repetition. And Robert Moore's ability to get the ball, in the leather and out of the leather, he's fantastic at that. And so, as a pitcher, it just gives you so much confidence that throwing ground balls is a good thing. It's a great thing because it's going to be an out. And that's something that everybody has to learn as a pitcher coming out of high school, because high school, a ground ball, you never know. And so you get to this level, and all of a sudden it's an out. And so it's a lot easier out than a strikeout. So I think it's great to have that behind them. And Van Horn teams have always been good fielders. He was an infielder, and he preaches that, and they work on it. And people don't understand the amount of work that goes into becoming a great infielder. And it's just, repetition after repetition after repetition after repetition, and it really, really shows on the field.
Well, it's been interesting in that they've bunted it a little more this year, and a lot of those bunts have turned into throwing errors, fielding errors, and they've manufactured some runs. And their pitchers have fielded the position flawlessly, and I think you speak to the work. And what's the phrase that you use when you're talking about pitching fielding practice? There's something, I don't know what they call it. Yeah, they do that probably as well as anybody.
Yeah, right. Well, and one thing that still sticks in my craw is just the way pitching is taught, deliveries. You see a lot of kids, I probably watch, every time I watch highlights of a game or watch a game, I'll see 4 or 5 ground balls up the middle that the pitcher should be fielding. And they're not even getting a glove on them because they all fall off glove sides so far. They just land different. It's just a different way of pitching. And I'm a big proponent of you fielding your position, ground ball up the middle, and it doesn't have to be right at you. I mean, you should be in a position to where you can go left and go right, even if you have to dive at it one way or the other to stop the ball up the middle. And because that's an out. I mean, that's an out. You're should be a good fielder. But you're talking about bunting. I'm glad to see it a little bit, not depending on the long ball to win games, because moving guys over and just making people move around, and you'll see a bunt to third baseline where the third baseman has to charge and field it with his hand and make a throw. That's the toughest play in baseball.
Yeah.
Full speed, field it barehanded, and you never know how the hop's going to go, and still making a great throw and barely getting a runner if you get him. It just makes people move around, makes the infielders have to think, where do I have to be? And, sometimes you catch a guy sleeping and doesn't cover the base. Or it creates excitement, creates base runners. So I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, an old guy told me once, when the ball is hit, somebody's got to field it, somebody's got to throw it, and somebody's got to catch it. And those three things don't always go right. So anytime you put the ball in play, there's the opportunity for the other team to make a mistake.
You bet. And if it's the pitcher going to have to field it, pitchers – sometimes they get out there and they think, all I got to do is just throw it. Well, that's the first part of the pitch. Then the rest of you become an infielder. So if they've got to charge up, and you'll see them.
Yeah.
To launch it down the right field line, you got guys running everywhere, and you look like you're a bunch of 8-year-olds running around. Even in B1 college, it can still go that way. So hopefully it'll go that way for them and not for us.
Yeah. Scott, we've seen left-handed pitching neutralize some good Arkansas lineups in recent years, and left-handed pitching is always a problem. Arkansas's got a lefty that's going to start in Game 2 in Hagen Smith. What have you seen from Hagen so far at an ERA of 3.45? Can he be a guy that, when we get into we're starting to get into the meat of the SEC schedule, but when you start, really kind of getting in Series 6, 7, 8, and towards the end and start thinking about June, is Hagen a guy you see some things in that could maybe be a shutdown guy for the Razorbacks?
What I'll tell you, I see as a mature kid, especially for a true freshman. He's a very mature pitcher. He doesn't get out, doesn't get rattled, doesn't try to do more than he can do. He stays within himself, which is hard to do. You have the crowd going and fans going, and then all of a sudden you start trying to throw 120 when you're really a 90 guy, 91 guy, snap breaking pitches off harder than you possibly can. He stays within himself, and what you're probably going to see is him get a little stronger as the year goes along. As a freshman, you kind of get into a groove, and you just you haven't thrown that many innings, probably in your whole career, and so he'll continue getting better and better and better. And people have more and more trust in him as a pitcher. His infielders know what he's doing; they kind of know situations of where he's going to go outside, when he's going to go inside. And everybody kind of gets in a rhythm behind your starters once they've been on the mound several times. So I think he's just going to get stronger as the season goes along if he can stay healthy. He's a big, strong kid, so I think we're in good shape with him.
Scott, power numbers just haven't quite been there so far this year, and there is power in this lineup. They played so many games into the wind. Do you expect, or maybe even think maybe this is the weekend that turns around?
Yeah, it's a lot of people don't realize how much weather plays into your numbers as a pitcher and as a hitter. When it's cold and it's windy, it's hard to grip the ball as a pitcher. The ball is real dry, and you see sometimes the umpires will let them lick their fingers, step off and they'll lick their finger to blow into their hand, and that's just so you can grip it. And as a hitter, the same way. Everything feels just a little foreign, and then bats are cold, and the wind's howling, and the ball doesn't carry as well. I think I think we'll see the power numbers go up as it warms up a little bit. And I listened to Van Horn early in the season, and I'm shaking my head because I've never heard him heap so much praise on a lineup before the season. Usually, he's kind of, we'll kind of see what we got. Well, this year he was, man, we got some power. We got some guys who are going to hit for power, and we're going to do this and do that. And I thought, well, it's either going to be really great or he's jinxed it. Well, so far, it kind of looks like a jinx. Some of our studs, I think, have to come around. I think Slavens and
Slavens
having Borfrin. Yeah, and I watched. He's hit some balls hard. He's hit some balls right on the nose, but right at him. And
the wind got
him. Yeah, and sometime he hit a ball the other day at the right field, or just an absolute rocket that goes down as a sacrifice fly. It wasn't a sacrifice fly. It was a sacrifice rocket. 4 feet left or 4 feet right. It's a triple. And you just, as a player, you have to play through those things, and it's hard mentally to do that sometimes. He's just got to put his head down and keep swinging.
Yeah.
Got to keep swinging.
Well, Mississippi State hadn't been at their best so far. They were the national champions last year, but I find that interesting, guys. Just since 1960, these teams are within 4 games of each other all time, 52-56. State leads the series, so I expect another, to borrow the football term, slobber knocker this weekend.
Two great baseball programs.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're not ranked right now, but I don't think that means a whole lot going into a weekend like this.
No, it doesn't. It's like basketball. You're playing a 3-game basketball tournament. You're playing with the same lineup 3 days in a row. In baseball, that's the biggest difference. And the beauty of the game is you have to replace your best guy with another guy each game, and then see how it goes. So there's a lot of moving parts in baseball, whereas football and basketball, you can kind of get pretty set. And so it's a fun game, and it should be a great series this week. And like I said, you throw everything out year to year to year. You don't go, well, last year they're great, so they're great this year. But they're always going to be solid, and there's no gimmies in this conference. But they're in the West now, so hopefully this is one of the first goals you have as players, win your division.
Yeah.
So we'll take it from there.
Well, Scott, thanks for your flexibility so far, and we look forward to having you every Friday, and we'll talk to you next weekend about
you bet.
where the Hogs are at. 6 o'clock tonight, 6:30 Saturday night, 2 o'clock on Sunday. Should be a fun one at Baum Walker. Scott, enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next Friday.
All right. It's going to be a great weekend. Go Hogs.
All right, Scott Tabor with us here. We talk the Razorbacks every week here on the Morning Rush.
Finally here, the top teams in college basketball have been determined, and the Final Four is set. Looking to wager on these games or the national championship? Head over to betonline.ag on your desktop or your mobile device and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV to get started. That's BLEAV. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all your updated odds and info, along with player props and new contests throughout the year. It's the best source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and everyone's favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.